Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. God. Oh. Okay, whatever. That, like, there was no context to that. That was what was on my mind and on my spirit. Okay, Harley, darling. Love you so much. You gotta go. You guys. Oopsie. Oh my god, you guys. Welcome back. Welcome back to Gab with Sab. Oh my god, 2026. So, those of you watching the video version of this podcast and those of you listening to the audio version of this podcast may have noticed that the setup has increased in quality. Not only do I have a fancy ass microphone, like one that like I'm singing like I'm a rock star. Okay, but also I have got my phone recording me now instead of the webcam. The webcam that I got from Aver Media. Aver Media is dead to me, okay? Because their webcam sucks. That video quality, horrible, awful, terrible, a nightmare. Some are saying that they were sabotaging Gab with Sab from the very beginning. But so, anyways, welcome back. I'm your host, Sabrina Stangler, and I want to go out on a limb here, and I'm actually not going out on a limb at all. I just want to disclaim. I went ahead and recorded a version of this podcast, and it was like ins and outs of 2025, 2026, whatever, and I was trying to draft my notes so that it fit that kind of like in and out format, and it turns out I'm a Culver's girl. I don't like the format. It didn't like really suit me, and then I saw that everybody and their mother, including Emma Chamberlain, was doing the in and out format, and I was like, guys, whatever, pack it up. Like, it's been done before. And so instead of trying to like shoehorn myself into that template, we're gonna do an episode like normal. We're just gonna kind of like do the normal quick button topics, discussion, and content shout out. And content shout out, oh my god, just like a little teaser here. I'm wearing the merchandise of the person who I'm going to shout out in the content. Go comment down below if you think you know who it is. I doubt you do. It's my shirt says, or my sweatshirt for the audio listeners, it's a gray crew neck with a big blue, like an electric kind of blue graphic of a deer with fairy wings, and then it's got orange like pixelated text on the top and the bottom of the image that say higher and then self. And so no, it's not about marijuana product, but I am wondering, girls, what do you call weed? I don't know if this is useful for me to talk about this at the top of the podcast. It might what's the word I'm trying to look for? It might like defavor me in the algorithm. I don't know, who cares? It's only my friends watching this still. And I've been saying this for the last 10 episodes, which, by the way, 10 episodes in 2025. Okay. That's something worth celebrating, I think. And we're almost at 50 subscribers. This is like subscribers that I've gained for the entirety of my duration on YouTube, which has included doing like vlogs, podcasts, and I don't know, there's some other silly nonsense on my channel if you want to go look at it. But this is kind of my magnum opus, if you will, is the podcast Gab with Sab. So 10 episodes last year. We're looking to do 20 in this coming year. That means like about one every other week. I just want to double last year, and that makes it 20. And so that's what we're going for. Maybe we'll hit a weekly cadence at some point. But that really depends on whether or not I get people to pay me for my time as a software engineer, because if I can get that and get that money, I do unfortunately have to prioritize that. Okay, guys. I'm sorry. If we're doing ins and outs, then unfortunately capitalism is in. Capitalism is what's in is like playing the game to win the game, to profit from the game, because this past year I feel like I tried to do what I wanted, like leave it up to the universe. And anyways, the universe was like, I hope you like being poor. I hope you like making zero money, because that's all I have for you. We don't have any kind of income to supplement your interests and your creative hobbies. So with that being said, let's get into the episode. And let me make my call to action clear. I want to know what you call marijuana product. That's what I call it, because that's what feels right in my heart and soul. But I'm wondering, because saying the word weed with the E noise is just like a particular bugaboo for me, because I used to have an expander in my mouth. And so it was something that sat at the roof of my mouth, and it really challenged my speech and development. And so anyways, I had this in like the end of elementary school. So like I was like a big kid, so I wasn't like still learning to speak, but it meant that I couldn't pronounce certain words and certain sounds. And so E was one of them, because that is very much like a sound that comes from the roof of your mouth. And that sucked. Hated that. And so anyways, I'm self-conscious about ever saying words that have like a E noise. And so Sabrina famously has like the I is pronounced like E. And so Sabrina. So I used to be like Sabrina. Anyway, moving on. We're moving on. And actually, I want to talk about the setup only briefly, and I think that's enough. So moving forward, I have a few things that I'm saying. One of them is in a trial period. It was in a trial period, and she did not make the cut. She did not make it. Something else I'm saying is the phrase "some are saying," and I will say this to just about anything and adapt it accordingly. So the thing that this comes up the most for is like someone makes some kind of take, some kind of declarative statement, and I'm like, some are saying. So like, it turns out taking care of plants is hard, and some are saying that. We might have an adaptation that is like, more people should be saying that, or like not enough people are saying that. For example, Gab with Sab is the #1 podcast. Not enough people are saying that. Not enough. And in fact, everyone should be saying that. So this is one, like, some are saying, I have integrated into my vocab for like months now. Maybe it's been over a year, but my friend groups have glommed onto this one. It's a good one. It's just so adaptive, so versatile, and so poignant, dare I say. My next one is something that it's out of its trial period. It's in the lexicon, but it is a recent addition. I debuted this one last episode. This one is the pot calling the kettle blank. And so instead of just being like, just reciting the idiom, like the pot calling the kettle black, I'll be like, oh, I'm the pot calling the kettle a hypocrite if I'm being hypocritical myself. Or like, and I guess maybe that's like a little bit too literal of interpretation, because the pot calling the kettle black is meant to call out hypocrisy. But I'll be like, that's, this person really seems like they're struggling, but I'd be the pot calling the kettle depressed. And so what do I know? It's meant to like alleviate any responsibility for what I said. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I can say something out of pocket and be like, but what do I know? I might be the pot calling the kettle a big fat dumb idiot. And so anyway, moving on. The next thing I have here, so I mentioned that the format of the pod is going to be, this Midwestern podcast is going to be like little hot button issues and then longer discussion items. So this is a note that I took, and I really don't know what it means. It says, oh my fucking God, OMFG, just shrink the font size, diva, get up, lock in. And I think this was in relation to somebody being like, oh, I can't get this stuff to all fit. And I was like, just shrink the font size, diva. Like, what are we doing? It felt like such an obvious thing. And so I could be the pot calling the kettle fucking big dumb idiot. And because I had been there before. But also I was like, come on, guys, let's just shrink the font size and move right along. Next, I was gonna do a segment talking about Pinterest because I have solicited sponsors to this podcast. Unsurprisingly, I have not gotten much action because I'm a tiny little podcast with tiny little viewership and tiny little engagement. Whatever. We're working on it. That's on you guys, okay? That's on you guys to go comment and like the video and rate it on Spotify, okay? I'm just saying that's not in my control. Because Pinterest is so huge, trying to partner with them, you have to actually like submit content to them that's already made. And maybe they do like more intentional partnerships that wasn't publicly available on their website, not anywhere I could find. But you will submit content to them, and then they'll decide if they want to endorse it, like if they want to promote it, and so I think that it's one of my favorite apps, but there's just too many ads. And here I thought I had a revolutionary take. Lo and behold, my muse, Brittany Broski, it said the same thing like 4 months ago. So I am watching the Broski Report. I'm a regular viewer of the Broski Report, but I'm like 4 months behind. I'm finally to Halloween of 2025, and I was like, right. So we're getting closer. I'm getting closer to catching up. And she done said the same thing. She was like, Pinterest has so many damn ads. And I was just like, I've never had an original thought in my life. But maybe the takeaway I should be saying is like, I'm thinking what the big thinkers are thinking. I'm thinking on this level, this plane of like criticism and critique that I have ground to call the kettle black, basically. That I have ground to call the app overrun with ads. And I'm not the pot in this case. I'm not another app overrun with ads. I'm not a podcast that's overrun with ads. I don't have ads. I have some linked partnerships in my description. And you know what? One day maybe I'll have a mid-roll. Maybe I'll have a pre-roll, God forbid. And I think when that day comes, we'll be snapping, clapping, raising our hands, and then body rolling. So when that day comes, I will be all up in Pinterest, whatever. Another comment I have is that I feel very similar to Brittany Broski, and that like maybe that goes without saying. And actually I've gone ahead and said that in many a previous episode, but I think the difference, the like core difference, is that I am like techny Broski. Like I am similar to Brittany Broski, but I'm in tech. I'm a woman in STEM. And so not to say that Brittany doesn't have like, I'm not trying to equate like STEM and tech with like general intelligence. I think that Brittany has intelligence in a bunch of different areas that just are not like software. And I have software intelligence. And I don't know, that's it. I just feel like I'm the tech version of Brittany Broski. Not that I really want like being in tech to be that much of my brand. It just like unfortunately is a big part of my life and how I spend my time and like the way I was educated and like the environments that I like came to adulthood in. And so like whether I like it or not, it influences me. And speaking of being influenced, I don't know why, but Facebook has me in a fucking chokehold. It has me in a fucking chokehold because I don't know. I like genuinely have no idea, because when I scroll Facebook, I don't like what I'm seeing like 95% of the time. It's not a platform I enjoy being on. I have gone and like unfriended people from like high school and middle school because I was like, these people are not my friends. Like I will go out on a limb here and say I don't know them and we're not tight. Even though I like going on Marketplace, I do feel guilty going on it because it makes me feel like I'm window shopping, because I'm like really trying not to spend money. So I shouldn't be on Facebook Marketplace, but I am selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And so that's why I downloaded the app again. And famously, I'm in the Bagoo Facebook pages, the Bagoo Facebook pages. And those are fun. But I also, again, like it's people selling Bagoo all the time. And so like I feel guilty browsing it because I want to buy stuff. This is all to say, fuck Facebook, bro. And you know how earlier I was begging for views? I am about to be the pot calling the creators desperate, because basically what has happened is in the city of Milwaukee, where I live, right? City of Milwaukee, don't come find me. I have seen restaurants that are like really struggling and they are on the brink of closing down, and they have made like a call to their patrons to be like, hey, we're struggling. Could you like come here more? Or like, instead of spending money on like fast food, could you like try coming and getting dinner here? And I feel a lot of ways about this. And it reminded me, like principally it reminded me of a video I saw Mika's Rhetoric do talking about Jaclyn Hill. And these are names that you don't need to know. But Jaclyn Hill is like a big beauty influencer, and she has largely moved away from YouTube, where she had like her heyday of fame, and moved to TikTok. And she was just complaining about like being a creator as though she were like entitled to regular viewership and like the loyalty of her fans. And there's something to be said about like creating content on the internet not being a like notoriously stable job, but that is because it is like a little not catacomb, a little chasm of capitalism, dare I say, where like part of being a creator is making stuff that people want to watch, and you don't just get to say like, well, I'm doing the same thing I was doing 10 years ago, or I've been making the same content and people just like don't want to watch it, and what, that's like the viewer's fault. Like maybe you should be adapting and innovating. And I fear I may feel a similar way about restaurants begging for patronage. And I think asking people to shift their dollar from like fast food places to local businesses is a fair request and a nice like reminder. But also like some of the places that are asking for patronage are like quite expensive. And I think it's reasonable to say like, if people are not coming to your restaurant often enough, like maybe you got to change it up, girl. Maybe you got to change it up, bestie. Maybe we should be changing and innovating and trying to react to what our people want instead. And it's a multifaceted issue because like obviously your ability to access like more expensive food is a class thing and a wealth thing and a poverty issue because people are impoverished. So many people don't have fucking money. And so maybe that's not the people who they are trying to target with their like request for patronage, the restaurants, but it just feels like you're putting the responsibility on me. And maybe I'm just getting defensive because I'm like, I can't support your business because it's not like I'm going out to dinner somewhere else. I'm just not going out to dinner, straight up. And so maybe it's not about me and I'm centering myself, and that's the issue. But I just it whispered in the same tone to me, the restaurants begging for patronage and creators begging for views. I'm like, you're not entitled to this just because you do it or because it has worked for you in the past. Like, you are a business at the end of the day, and at the end of the day we're in a capitalism. And even if we weren't in a capitalism, I still think that the like what happened to the customer is always right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not going to your place, like it's not working for me. It's not a priority for me, and it's not meeting my needs. And so make something that does. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one. This is supposed to be a hot take, but that was a little bit longer of a spiel. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please engage with my post. Please, I'm begging. The irony's not lost on me here. But in this case, I know I'm begging my like friends. If there are viewers and I say this every episode, if there are viewers of this podcast who I don't know in real life, please sound off because I want to know that you're there. Because right now all I get is like these nebulous views and I don't know who they're coming from. I have no way to like tie that to actual people. And so sound off, shoot me a DM or something. I do notes and mini episodes on there and big meme dumps that I get from Pinterest of all places. Oh my God, maybe we'll do a review. We might go through my Pinterest memes at the end of this episode. We'll see how long it takes. Oh my God, I'm getting a call. 1 second. All right, team, we're back. I got a call from my mom and now we're back. I also have a fidget toy and a water bottle. Super good, super prepared. My bob is intact and we're ready to fucking party. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about, the note that I jotted is maturity is presenting as less shameless. Okay, wait, maybe the presenting part is just me. So I was like thinking about shame and age and like what the way that I'm moving through the world, how that like changes over time as I grow and I mature. And I think part of it is just like being more accepting of who I am and not feeling so ashamed of who I am and what I like and what I do and how I move through the world, and trusting that the way I move through the world is appropriate, maybe. But I was thinking about like presenting as less shameless, and then I was like, maybe the presenting part is like the whole issue, because like I shouldn't be presenting myself any differently than I actually am. Do you know what I mean? So maybe maybe I stand by what I said, that maturity is presenting as less shameless because it's presenting as just me. So whatever. Okay, moving on. The next note I have is a bit of an outlook to 2026 for me. I think it's time for me to start teaching. I did the TEALS program in 2023 to 2024. I'm looking at my certificate, my teaching certificate. I like teaching, and it feels like what I'm called to do. It again like doesn't feel exactly like a super lucrative endeavor, but I think that it is. And for example, when I was teaching through the TEALS program, that was like completely volunteer based, and so I did get a t-shirt and a cute little gift card at the end of the year for like $25, so it wasn't totally unpaid. And for context, the TEALS program has like computer science professionals come in and help teach intro to programming courses and AP computer science for high schoolers. And so it helps when there is not a teacher when there's not like an actual teacher on staff who is like super experienced in software. And so they have industry professionals come in and like supplement the teacher themselves. And so anyway, I've talked about getting a master's degree so that I can become a professor and like teach college students, but I'm kind of like, maybe high school is my zone, because I think about one of the teachers that I had, Dr. Saharith, okay, a doctor in high school. He was not a doctor when he was my teacher, but he's a doctor now. And Dr. Saharith, if you will, for the girls that are close, and that's me. He was just an awesome teacher and was like very influential at a time where I like needed that kind of influence, where I was very susceptible to it. And so like I just like the excitement and the stage of students in high school, and going any younger than that does not feel right for me. Like for middle schoolers and elementary schoolers, trying to like teach them how to see the world and like speak and get these like basic skills down, that is just like, that's not my gig. But teaching a particular skill and teaching like a mindset for people who have like a slightly more developed brain sounds like something I want to do. So stay on the lookout. I'm going to start teaching. If you can think of any like teaching gigs that I can do, let me know in the comments, but it's on me to figure that one out. Water break. Iggy. I'm going to have to cut all those out. That's so stupid. Something that I've noticed as a barista and just like as a patron of coffee shops in general is that I have been seeing men like one-on-one together in very few contexts, where like, and this is only in the scenarios where I'm able to overhear. So like sample size under 10, you know, like not statistically significant, but the only circumstances that I see men on like one-on-one coffee dates is when it is like a kind of like spiritual Christian journey and they're doing like Christian mentorship, or it's when there's like someone who is being like a pseudo mentor, but they're really just trying to like recruit them into an MLM. And I like bring this up just to say that it's like sad. I wish that there were more men hanging out and spending time with each other and like being vulnerable with one another and like talking face to face. I know that is challenging, and it's hard for men to like see that as an accessible way of like accessing community and friendship, because it's like, oh, you're gonna go one-on-one with a man to like hang out, like isn't that a little bit gay? And just that like it's just that like simple patriarchal conception that makes them be like, and this is my assumption of based on like how I interpret the patriarchy, could be wrong here. Any men watching, let me know in the comments. But I just like wish that I would see more men having like one-on-one dates where it's not under the guise of like mentorship, especially when that mentorship is coming from a place of like spiritual superiority or financial superiority, where they're like, and the MLM recruiting is like, I don't think I need to tell y'all that shit's whack. I personally have been recruited by a man to join an MLM, and he was trying to be like, I'm gonna business mentorship you. Here, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's gonna change your life. Hey guys, if a mentor tells you to read Rich Dad Poor Dad or the other book that's by the same author, sprint. Start sprinting in the other direction. they just want you to be part of their downline, and they're going to tell you it's not a pyramid. They're going to tell you it's not a pyramid, but it is. And so I think that men are susceptible to that as much as like women are. And so that's just maybe that's my life advice for the episode, is if someone comes to you trying to get you to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's not a suitable space for your time and energy. Get away. Okay, speaking of adult friendships, I've been trying to like embrace the casual hangout, and hanging out just to like sit and chat and like do something else with a friend. And that isn't like going out and spending money on coffee and like using that as an excuse to talk, but rather like, do you need to get something done around your house? Let's do that together, and let's chalk it up. I was gonna say let's talk, but let's chalk it up. And during one of these more recent times that I did like a more casual hangout while helping my friend like unpack after moving, we did like a big lore reveal. And lore reveal or like getting to know your friends, like it's the same thing. But I am framing it as a lore reveal because like as an adult now making these like friendships with other adults, I'm like, you have so much that I don't know about your life that I've like not experienced with you, and God damn it, I want to know about it because like we're friends now. And so I'm interested in like what has influenced the way you move through the world now. And so again, I'm just like musing about the idea of like getting to know your friends, but I want to encourage it like through the lens of a casual hang and being like explicitly being like, I don't know you in a lot of ways and I want to know you better. And I just think that's fun. So, and I think that could like literally be the activity is like, okay, let's hang out and like I want to get to know you better. Like I had this also with another friend where she was like, tell me about your dad and like your family. Like I don't know anything about that, and you like seem to like gloss over it in other situations. So like I just want to hear more. And I was like, oh my God, like it made me feel so special. But also I was like, part of the appeal about a new relationship in my adulthood is like they're not bogged down with all of the stuff about like my growing up. And I say this especially as someone like in their 20s who is like so like I'm 27 for reference, and someone who is like so recently steeped in my like adolescent upbringing. Like that still was like a decade ago, right? And I've not even been an adult for a decade. Holy shit. My brain has barely been fully formed. Like, and some are saying that people with ADHD have their like frontal lobe complete its little transition, its little amalgamation even later. So who's to say? Maybe my brain is still forming, whatever. What the fuck was I saying, bro? Not even off the edible today. Not even off the Penelope. Oh, I was saying like some of the appeal of adult friendships is they're not bogged down with all of my history. And so I feel like it's nice to exist outside of that and feel like they get to know me as I am now, as a 27-year-old, as my like most fully realized self, like the best version of myself. And I get to exist outside of like the expectations that I feel like I've lived with my whole life. And it's the same thing as like going, like the same experience that I had in going to another city for college and like engaging in a totally new community of people who didn't know anything about my upbringing. They didn't know, and I got to like choose what I revealed, and it just like it was so empowering and freeing. And so I like that with new adult friendships. That being said, as I like get into the more like maintenance phase of that friendship where like we've gotten to know each other a little and we like know that we like each other and like spending time together and like think that our lives are benefit from one another. Like I'm not entitled to know anything about you, but I do think vulnerability is a huge part of like what makes a friendship interesting to me, and what makes like relationships with people in general interesting to me is like and this is me, like I want to get to know people, and I sit here and I like worry about presenting a version of myself that's like palatable to people, and I'm trying to stop that. I don't want to filter myself to try to like maintain friendships that sounds like a bad way to be a friend. And so, because if I'm expecting this vulnerability out of my friends, that's not something that I should be embodying. I'm the pot calling the kettle fucking annoying. I don't know. The next thing I have here is a fun little joke for my software girls in the audience. I'll keep it quick. If you've ever used Postman for hitting API endpoints where you're not hitting it from the front end, you're just trying to like hit it to know what kind of information it gives back to you. In a sense, you're kind of hitting it from the back. And that's all I have to say on that. This last one, the last part of our brief topic section, is I am trying to adopt an attitude in 2026 and just in general, whatever, of exercising to be healthy and not eating to be skinny. I think that like I have had a relationship with my body and with eating and food that is like, could be characterized as disordered eating, but I've been in denial because it's not actually like making me any skinnier. And so I'm like, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm not even skinny. And I feel like I want to expand this to say that the joke, the cultural phenomena of like body tea has like reintroduced this beauty standard in a way that is like, it's obviously being said tongue in cheek. It's like, okay, yeah, the body's tea, the body. And if you've not heard like body tea, which I like cannot imagine anyone listening has not heard it. Oh my God, you'd be such a loser if you haven't. Just kidding. Maybe you have been, oh, I'm getting another fucking call. Okay, so I feel like this whole body tea joke, body tea being like a body is like snatched, like tiny waist, wide hips, hourglass figure. Like, I feel like we've been joking about it and we've been saying it tongue in cheek and we're like, haha, like we know the beauty standards are blah, 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 like are harmful. TLDR on the thing, I feel like playing with the phrase body tea is just like playing with fire. And like, I'm like, can we do that? Like, can we engage with this topic playfully and not harmfully? I don't know. Who's to say? Next, getting into our more like big discussion topics, of which there are many. Anyway, so I was talking about this last year, and I feel like last year in 2025, I like kind of left it up to the universe. I was like, let's see what happens. We're gonna fuck around and we're gonna find out. And it reminds me of this meme I saw on Pinterest, which was like, if I'm reaping what I sow, like what the fuck did I sow? And I think the meme is like me reaping, like what the fuck did I sow? And I just am kind of like, if I'm like trying not to see like karmic retribution as something that is so short term, because I'm like, yeah, this year was tough, but it like this year was tough for like reasons that are not like, it wasn't, again, like the ever going war with myself and my like self-worth and understanding of my place in the world, my self-actualization, right? Like that can only happen when I have my like basic needs met. And so I like want to clarify that I like have had my basic needs met, and that I'm talking about being poor, but I'm using that as like hyperbole a little bit to say like I'm living paycheck to paycheck, like I'm alive and I'm living and surviving, but I like, for all intents and purposes, like money is stressing me out. And so I'm like, if I sowed this, like, damn. The next thing I want to talk about is related to this in the sense that I feel like in trying to understand myself and the world around me, I have like positioned myself as like a victim and a survivor. And we're going to say that it's justifiable because like, I don't know, everyone is a victim of things, that everyone is a survivor of their circumstances, like, and some people have it worse than others. Like, I'm not trying to be like, wow, woe is me, but it had been useful for me to like have that victim framing, because I had otherwise been like taking the responsibility of like my shortcomings or the like harm that has been done to me. I was taking that responsibility on and being like, it's my fault, it's my and it is my responsibility to fix it. Like, it's no one else's besides mine. But I was having this like this victim narrative, and that was useful, but now I feel like I'm ready to, it no longer serves me. Like, I'm ready to have like a winner mentality. And part of this was inspired by a short time a recently featured content shout out on this channel, Wildlin Pierce. He goes by like not Wildlin on most of his social media, so hit him up because he was saying something in his end of year episode about like, you know, the people, my fans are winners, like they got that winner energy, and not to like take it too seriously, like it was obviously a joke, but like it hit me and I was just like, damn, I have not been feeling like a winner lately. I've been kind of feeling like a big dumb loser, like a BDL, a big dumb loser. And I feel like exiting this victim narrative could be useful in helping me like reframe as I don't know, just not being a loser and being a winner, and trying to take the power of like, I can choose how I see myself in the world, and that will impact the way I move through it. And so and I have to believe that I'm a winner. Like I have to believe that what I'm doing is like gonna yield success, I suppose, because otherwise why would I be doing it? And so I feel that way about this podcast, for example. Like I feel that, and like people talk about like loving your craft, and like I love doing this, like this. And when I say I love doing it, I mean like I really enjoy saying my piece and trying to craft it in a way that is like insightful and funny and useful. Like I'm not trying to just like speak into the void. I feel that what I'm doing, and I feel that this is a quality of content creators everywhere. Like I kind of think I'm on my shit. Like I kind of think I'm saying something that's worth saying. And so I see this podcast as like having potential to grow, and having potential to grow because it like resonates with people. And so that could be me like drinking my own Kool-Aid and getting high off it. But I think that that's part of like, I don't know, like betting on myself and assuming that I will succeed, because I feel like I'm doing things that will be successful, and successful in the sense that like this will be something I can continue doing. And I can't continue doing this if it doesn't either become easy enough that I can always squeeze it in, or that it starts like yielding me money so that I can prioritize it. And I'm like literally, unfortunately, as I was saying, living kind of paycheck to paycheck at the minute, and I literally need to prioritize things that up my income, because I need to continue surviving. Like I need to continue meeting my basic needs. And I want to do things like travel, and I cannot afford a fucking $2,000 plane ticket to Australia if I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Do you hear me what I'm saying? And so if I want to live that life, then I have to prioritize that, because I want to go see my friends who like live in these other places, and I want to experience the communities that they are in. And so I was planning to go to Japan in 2026. Unless I start making more money, that's like not going to happen. And that is really sad. It's a bummer. Let me back up. It's a bummer. I'll get through it and I'll go in 2027, hopefully. But yeah, in conclusion on this topic, I feel like I'm done being a loser and I'm ready to be a winner. I'm trying to like reframe what I'm doing as successful, thus being like, yo, I recorded 10 episodes last year. How cool is that? That's a feat, that's an accomplishment. Not like I didn't make any money off of this. Like I could frame it however I want, and so I want to frame it as successful, that like there's things to be proud of and there's things to celebrate, and I'm going to celebrate them because I'm a winner. And that's kind of it. Speaking of my sense of self and how I've like understood that has had a lot to do with my family. And there's just like lore that I cannot exactly escape, but a framing that I've been trying to take with like my upbringing. And Mom, if you're listening to this, love you, girl, but at this point you and I are just two mentally ill adults who had gone undiagnosed for most of their lives, and we're trying to interact with each other and fulfill each other's needs. And so like, of course it's going to be challenging. Of course it's going to be difficult. We are learning about ourselves together, and we're learning about each other together, and we're collecting diagnoses along the way. It's so fun. My mental illness sash is full of patches, And that makes me feel like a winner. Okay, we're reframing it. Okay, you get it. Speaking of like growing up and that kind of stuff, I wanted to talk a little bit about being an only child, because I feel that I don't see a lot of only children, and it just like there are probably only children who I just like don't know that they're only children, but I feel like a lot of my friends are all siblings, and so there is like this sibling experience that I don't get. But nevertheless, being an only child, I like have some resentment toward my parents for not having another child, and like I totally understand why they didn't. Like I don't really wish that they did necessarily, but I yearned for a sibling so much, and I feel that there is like the burden of supporting my parents, who are now my parent. Famously, my dad is dead, so I don't have to worry about this for him, but like worrying about long-term care as my mom ages, that is like completely on me. And I'm watching my like aunts and uncles go through that with my grandparents, and I'm like, damn, that sucks. And then I'm also like, at least y'all got each other. Like at least my aunt and my uncle, they got each other, girl. So they're sharing not only the financial burden, but also like the psychological of like my parent is aging. My parent might be losing some of their ability to like move through the world the way that they had. And it's just like a lot, I guess I want to say. So I just want to, I don't know, only children in the audience, sound off in the comments. I know I've told y'all to sound off in the comments a million times, but it's because I'm begging you to engage with my content. And I just like truly want to know, like if I want this, I think I'm putting this content out for it to be consumed. Do you know what I'm saying? So like consume it and like give me something back. Give me some feedback. So only children, sound off in the comments. I'm deadly serious. And this reminds me, there is a song on one of the albums that I really liked this year by Two Hollis called Star. The second to last track is called Eldest Child, and I think I've talked about this in a previous episode. It's a tough listen. And just like it's very different from the other music on the album, and it's like more acoustic and kind of like down to earth, and in an otherwise like very like hyper pop album. And it's describing the experience of being like an eldest child, and it's like, oh my god, I know you're tired, like you gotta walk a long road. I know you're tired, quote unquote. You gotta lock a long road. I know you're tired. And I can't imagine what you feel as an eldest child, but I have to imagine that there's some similarities to being an only child, where you're like, this burden is placed on me to like help manage my family as we all age. And because I'm like, I mean, I'm the only, but you're like the eldest of the youngs, and I don't know. So Colin is an eldest child, and so maybe that's why we get along so well. I don't know. We got that dog in us. We got that dog in us. I don't know what else to say. Okay, my next discussion point, we're going to see if I can remember what the fuck I meant by this. So I said, my memory is stored in the tooth, not my active memory. So when I floss, I have to floss there again to check if I've flossed there already. So like when I'm flossing my teeth, I sometimes am like, did I floss the bottom right already? I don't know. And I'll floss again in one of those spots to like see if it feels familiar and it feels like I've already done it. And I've heard that people with ADHD are more susceptible to conspiracy theories. Give me a second to tie this together. Like I remember the first time I saw a Tomi Lahren video. I don't think she's a big creator anymore in the Republican space. I remember when I saw a video from hers in like 2016. I showed it to the founder who I was working with at the time, who was like my former soccer coach. And I was like, she's making some good points. Like, it kind of makes sense. And then he was like, no, diva. He was like, I see, like, he was like, that's exactly it. Like, they use such language and then use, different fallacies, like a straw man or a like false equivalency or whatever it is. Like, he's like, actually, upon further inspection, like when you dig deeper into this, it doesn't fit the narrative that they're trying to sell you. And so I think people with ADHD, like myself, who store memory in their teeth, need to, like, in order to get the big picture, you kind of have to, like, actively floss all those teeth within quick succession to be like, this is what my mouth is like, instead of like, I flossed 2 years ago and I know what that part of my mouth is like, assuming that it stays the same, right? Like, this is getting ridiculous. But so it's hard to, like, put the big picture together and then be like, oh, this doesn't actually make sense. And so I just, like, have seen this, like, seen people in my life with ADHD be caught down the conspiracy rabbit hole and the evangelical Christian agenda. And I was like, I have long been trying to, like, understand how that happened, like how somebody who I thought shared the same values as me could be so swayed. But then I'm like, you know, the little bits make sense, and if instead of having to try to, like, construct the full narrative yourself, it's nice when someone's like the things that they're telling you in these little bite sizes make sense. And it starts to, like, if you don't, this goes beyond the tooth memory, but if you don't try to put the pieces together or, like, investigate those things critically, all of a sudden you've got this painting and you're like, well, I remember this stroke and that stroke and that stroke, and these individual strokes made sense, so the full painting should make sense. But it doesn't. It doesn't, because those little strokes were out of context and they never made sense. Yeah. So it's crazy. At this point, I thought that I had explained that shit, like, even a little bit well. I'm not following myself. I really don't think I tied it together, but I'm going to go on with the topic anyway. If you're ever interested in the kind of, like, fundie snark content, fundie snark being, like, snark that is, like, criticism of Christian fundamentalism, Fundie Fridays is a great channel, and I love the work they're doing there. It's so fun. It's like fun and lighthearted and silly, but then it, like, takes the serious subjects, because, like, the harm that's caused by fundamentalists is serious. It's very real. The kind of things that people get away with, like the sexual assaults and I'll say the R word, rape, when people, especially as children in these spaces that they thought were safe for them, it's like these people at the front of the movements were never safe. They were never doing this because they want best for you. They were doing this because it's what's good for them. It's just, like, selfish and self-aggrandizing, and, like, this is how they see as their, like, route to power, and you're just a pawn in their chessboard. And that's kind of all I have to say on that. I don't know. I feel like I'm like an old man screaming at a cloud a little bit in talking about, like, the ways that I've seen, like, religion and conspiracies be weaponized to, like, alienate people and adopt them into, like, a movement that, you know, promises to save them, when I know it never will. That was never the purpose. Like, these, especially, like, with religion, I'm like, this is a tool that was a tool of the colonizer. Come on, guys. Like, you can't. And so okay. I know several people who, like, identify as Christian or Catholic, and who I believe are people who share similar values to me. And I, like, want to acknowledge that their experience is real. And I want to be like, guys, it's a slippery slope. Like, trying to exist on the fringes of this religion that has caused so much, like, harm and pain and suffering, and that has been used and weaponized to colonize, to hurt people, to make people conform, to, like, to maintain a power structure that favors men, and like, the kind of misogyny and racism that exists in the Christian church, I was about to say should be studied. It's been studied. Like, we've been knowing. And so I feel like I'm beating a dead horse a little bit here. TLDR, watch some fundie snark content. It's good. And if you are a Christian fundamentalist or you're a Christian and you think your shit's tight, like, your shit's not tight. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say your shit's not tight. You loose. My shit, me, I'm tight as fuck. I'm tight as fuck with no religion. And so maybe I'm an elitist because I am like an atheist who has a moral compass. Me personally, I was gonna say I don't understand the appeal of religion, but I get it. And I am trying to like obviously have a to each their own attitude, but I'm also like, figure it out maybe. Like, I don't know, do what you gotta do, but also like, I don't know, I might cut this out because I have complex feelings about religion and they're not that complex. Like, I just generally am like, I know that is not for me, and I don't think it's really, I don't know. There's goodness and there's community, and there's like a lot of ways that I think churches and religious groups show up for their community in a like really positive and impactful way. So like I don't want to like just completely obliterate them. But like, did we need to do this under the guise of God and holiness? I don't know. Whatever. Dear editing Sabrina, maybe cut that whole bit out. I don't know if it was interesting. The next thing I want to talk about is like my position as somebody on the like political left, as like a leftist, and just someone who engages in political discourse. Like, there is this sense, especially from I'll be frank, my opponents on the right. You are my enemy, that is for sure. I mean, we're all in this together, but also like right now you're acting in ways that are harmful to me and my homegirls. And so you're kind of my enemy right now. Like, it's not my fault that you are doing stuff that antagonizes me and my people. Like, you're choosing to do that, so you're my enemy. And so people who would oppose my ideologies might say like, well, if you don't like it, you know, go somewhere else. Or if you don't like it, like, what's the actual better way? Like, what's a better way to do this? Like, do you know? I don't know, like, we're expected to like provide the solution. And I think that trying to come up with solutions is a good idea. But I'm like, God forbid I raise my hands and I like trust that the people who have been elected to power and whose literal fucking job it is to solve these problems, like, God forbid I raise my hands and I trust them and I say, hey, this is your responsibility. Can you figure it out? And then criticize them when they fail to figure it out. Like, I'm not the one purporting to know best. I'm just saying what you're doing sucks. Like, what you're doing is hurting people. What you're doing is not going to yield like a future where everyone can thrive. And that's just the thing, is like, I'm trying to, like, I think where ideologically I see myself as opposing the right is that I'm like, and as opposing like libertarians too. And it depends on the libertarian, but I think it's my responsibility to advocate for and contribute towards like collective growth, like collective success. And libertarians especially are like, that's none of my business. Like, I just want to be left alone. And then people on the right are like, why should welfare exist? Like, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. It's my business. And I think that's just in a ploy to chase like I love billionaires because I hope that I can be a billionaire one day. And those billionaires probably worked hard for it. And like, no, they didn't. If you're listening to this podcast, I don't think that you think that billionaires work hard. They had to exploit people to get billions of dollars. Billions. Billions. I got close to making $100,000 a year. That is 3 more zeros, 4 more zeros. That's adding 1,000-fold. That's 10 to the 10 squared. That's like 10 to the third power. It's 3 powers of 10, which is like, I cannot express this enough. That is like exponentially different kinds of wealth. And so I think my ideological difference is that I think that instead of prioritizing individual like success up to that degree, we should be like, hey, it's crazy that you have $1 billion and people are dying of starvation. It's crazy that you have $1 billion and people are living paycheck to paycheck. And people in your own organizations are living paycheck to paycheck. Like, pay your fucking people. I'm serious. But the point I want to take here is like, maybe this is a stance that is even a little apolitical. That is like, regardless of where I align myself politically, I feel like what I'm trying to do is whatever I see as the route to like achieving the best possible solution for everybody. And I don't know if that's crazy to say. Like, I feel confident that what I'm doing is trying to drive like the future that I want to see, which is one where everyone is like enabled to thrive. And I don't think that people on the right see it that way and see that as their responsibility. It's kind of like every man for himself. And I understand why people feel like their survival is, you know, like up for question. And they see, and like, you know, Fox News is telling them that the people to blame are the people on welfare and the people who are exploiting the system from the bottom. And I promise you they're not exploiting the system from the bottom, because if they were, it would be working. It would be working and they would be rich, and they're not. Or they would be thriving and they're not. And so I just think that it doesn't have to be my responsibility as a citizen to come up with the best solution. I think that it's fair for me to expect my elected officials to figure it out. Like, you're the one purporting to fucking know. Like, you're the one who ran a whole election and said, I know what's best. Okay, so do it. Okay, so do what's best. Okay, figure it the fuck out. I know it's hard. I'm not trying to act like the solutions or the problem spaces that are afoot are easy. Like, I understand that they're difficult, but you're the one who said you could figure it out, so do it. That's it. Okay, next. I've been reading this book. I've been reading a nonfiction book. Chalk that one down. I had it on my bingo card to read a nonfiction book. I did not finish it in 2025, so I did not cross off that little box, but I did get a good chunk of the way through it, and I was recently reading it. And the book itself that I'm going to tell you about in 5, 4, no, I'm just kidding. The book is called Nurture Shock, and so it's like a new, let me pull it down. The subtitle is New Thinking About Children. So what this book is like a collection of research that's been done over the last, when was this copyrighted? Okay, this was copyrighted in 2009. And so this was within the last like 50 years, 30? I don't know, but it's compiling research from like recent history about children and how we raise them and how we teach them. And the kind of theme that I've come to, let me put the spine of the book out. Like a big theme is that a lot of research that's been done has showed us that, like, for example, like standardized IQ tests to identify like talented and gifted students in kindergarten is fruitless, is that it's too early to tell, and it doesn't accurately like convey whether or not those same students will go on to succeed. And a lot of it is just like, hey, the research has been done, and the researchers are kind of like screaming that like, hey, the way that we're doing things is actually not the best way. And public perception is like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I believe my own fallacies about parenting, which are that like my kid won't be racist because I'm not racist, or because like my kid will be able to be identified as talented and gifted at age 5 because they're just so brilliant. And it's I think a lot tied up in ego for like what we expect out of our children that is just like unrealistic. Or like, my kid won't lie. Like, there's a whole chapter about like why kids lie and how early they develop it, and how interventions to be like lying is bad is not as useful as being like honesty is virtuous, and it helps you build trust and community. And so lying hinders your ability to build like trusting relationships. And so that's obviously a little bit more conceptually complex to tell to an elementary school student. However, it is literally not useful to like tell kids don't lie, because they'll just become better liars. And God forbid they don't do like the morally correct thing. They're kids. They're still learning how to move through the world. And they might lie to you because they want to, like, one of the examples was like that it was saying that like kids lie because they want to please you. They're not trying to like please themselves, generally speaking. They like want their parents to be happy. And so if their parent is like, did you lie to me? They want to double down on the lie because they want their parent to think that they were never lying in the first place. Whereas now, like, the approach that you could meet your child with is, did you lie to me? I just want you to be honest, and it will make me happy if you are honest with me. And like, it's okay if you lied. I just want to know the truth, and trying to uphold that. And so anyway, I just thought I think it's interesting reading this book because it's like, yeah, we researched it and nobody seems to fucking care, and that's why the shit is still whack. And so I don't know how you go about fixing this. But I mean, like, these people obviously, like, they wrote a book and they were like, okay, maybe if we write a book, like, people are going to change their mind. And so I've changed my mind about a lot of like different things that have to do with raising kids. Cause I felt, and the reason I picked up this book was because I was like, I don't know what to do, like, when kids lie. I don't know what to do when and it wasn't the lying chapter. Like, I know I'm really harping on it, but that wasn't like the chapter that really got me going. This talks about like the inverse power of praise and how like just blindly praising kids is not useful. Like, they can tell the difference, and praising them for their intellect is not as useful as like praising them for the effort they put forward. And so if you just praise them for like being gifted and talented, then they're not taught to try. They're taught that like they either know how to do it or they don't. And so and that they can't close that gap, and they never like learn the skills to develop how to close that gap, or they might never. Obviously, like, people move through the world and learn things, like, they figure it out. But yeah, it's just interesting. It's interesting to see. I don't know. I just like, especially in interacting with Colin's younger siblings, I was like, I just don't know. Oh my gosh, this came up because Colin's sister Jaden is a early childhood education teacher. She's a teacher. She's a 4K teacher. And she, like, I see the way that she talks to kids, and it's so different than she talks to adults. But it's not, it's like good though. It's like the way she talks to kids is like bringing things down to their level, but like still saying things that are true and things that are like teach a lesson or what have you. And I was like, I just don't know how to talk to kids. And so that's why I picked up this book, and I think it's been really helpful. I think it's really interesting. So I'd highly recommend it. I'm only halfway through, but it's like quite a quick read. Like, the chapters are all distinct from one another. So there's like why white parents don't talk about race. I'm about to get into the sibling effect, which I told you I don't know what it's like to have siblings because I'm an only child, and it's just really cool. So recommend that book. That's on the list for the Gab with Sab reading club. Okay, team. Hopefully for the last time, I am sitting back down, and hopefully I'm going to skip the topic about making software versus making stuff with software, and we're going to talk about that next episode. Something I want to talk about now is whether or not some people are evil, and whether or not I believe that people have evilness in their heart. And because this came up, because has nothing to do with politics, has everything to do with this situation where I was driving down Lincoln Memorial Drive in Milwaukee. It's a boulevard. And so there is a gap of grass between each side of the road. And Lincoln Memorial Drive goes along the lakefront downtown. And so there are frequently animals nearby. And so there happened to be a lot of geese there that day. And I'm talking hundreds of geese. I'm talking like the geese were on the right and they were on the left, and they were in the middle, bro. They were in the middle. And so the geese were crossing the road, and everybody slowed down. All the cars slowed down, and they were starting to finally clear off of like my side of the road, but they were still crossing on the opposite side of traffic. And some fucking asshole, maybe evil person, as you can maybe predict, comes barreling down and collides with like 4 fucking geese, sending them all flying. And I'm like driving past, and this happens like literally right in front of my eyes. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God. It was horrific. It was like, genuinely, I feel that I'm being brought back to this moment because it was horrible. And it made me be like, you know, as I was trying to cope with this, I was like, surely they didn't see it. Like, surely they were like distracted and accidentally barreled through a family of geese. They're goslings, for God's sake. And so I started talking about this to Colin later, and he was like, oh, dude, like, I hate to break it to you, but I feel like that person probably did it on purpose, because they have done studies of, and listen, I've not fact checked this research, but he was saying that like there are people who have like have like self-recognized that they will go out of their way to hit animals on the side of the road, like living animals, just because they can. And I was like, see my gasp, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck? And so like, to say like somebody hits an animal on the side of the road is evil is like maybe a stretch, because I can see how it is just like, and to even like categorize people as evil, like I'm doing this for a little bit of the clickbait of it, but a little bit of like are people evil? Like, I really am genuinely wondering, because I want to believe that no one is like truly evil, but obviously there are like serial killers and stuff like that, and they seem like they're up there in the list for reasons that people can be evil, because it's quite evil stuff that they be doing. But it's generally about like power, right? Like anything, it's about feeling powerful and getting that in whatever way you can if you're not able to get it in healthy means, or you're not able to cope with the fact that you don't have power. And so I don't know, is somebody who succumbs to their need for power evil? A little bit. Like, if you're harming others while you're doing it, then like, yeah, I think I've answered my question. Like, some people are evil, and the person who purposely hit a bunch of geese on Lincoln Memorial Drive, evil. You're gonna reap what you sow. At least I fucking hope so. I don't know. I'm like, do they deserve to reap what they sow? Like, if they did it on purpose, I think yes. Right? I don't know. Moving on. I want to talk about Pinterest again, because at the end of the year, they had all this stuff like predicting the trends of 2026. And I was like, hold on a second. If you Pinterest, the fucking big ass conglomerate of like hobbies and fashion and blah, 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 blah. Like, if you predict the trends, they're gonna happen. Like, you're kind of future telling, because you're so big and prolific. Like, you could say that anything is gonna trend, and then it would, right? And so I did have the follow-up thought that was like, maybe they're just presenting based on data they're already seeing, but now that have reported on it, because it's such widespread information now, which I didn't click on it, so I don't know what the trends are. I don't know what the trends are, because I was like sitting here like, you bastards, you're trying to force trends down my throat. And maybe they are, maybe they're not, I don't know. But I don't know, is that not like a little irresponsible to be like, oh, what's going to be a trend? Like, I wonder if it will be this. It's going to be that. It's going to be that, because you just said that it is, and you're Pinterest. Like, know the power that you have and act like it. Like, act with the responsibility of having that power. So that was me gonna fist fight Pinterest. Okay? This might be our last discussion topic. Yeah. Because we're already at like an hour and a half of footage. So there was the whole discussion of like, would you do the job for $120,000 remotely or $240,000 in person as like an annual salary? And I actually heard about this because Wildlin was talking about it on his podcast 10 at a time, and on YouTube, go stream. And it reminded me of a conversation that Colin and I had, which was that, like, would I accept payment from him to be like a housewife, effectively, like to like take care of and maintain the home? Like, would I do all the chores? Would I like do all the meal prepping? And basically, like, is there an amount of money that I would take in order to do that work? And would I accept it from my partner, from my like domestic partner? And the question is, I don't know. Or excuse me, the answer is I don't know. Like, maybe. And I mean, like, if that number was like $100,000, yeah, like, it would be a fucking easy answer. I would do that. But we were thinking more of it in like in a realistic sense. That was like, okay, what if he covered all of the expenses, like all of our bills, all like our mortgage, our and the cost of the food that I make. And what if we're both consenting to that kind of relationship, like would I be comfortable with that and comfortable with that power dynamic? Because there would be pressure both ways, of course. Like there'd be pressure on Colin to like maintain his stream of income, and he wouldn't be able to be as like as risky with money unless we had an excess of it, right? But we're talking about a world where we don't have an excess of wealth. And so he would have to be more frugal potentially, or more like risk averse when it comes to like challenging things at his company that he doesn't agree with. He'd have to be like, well, I need to keep this job in order to keep my household afloat. And then of course the pressure of doing all the housework on me, and that is kind of like an infinite task. It doesn't like neatly fit into a box. It's always going to be kind of like more and more and more and more. And would like Colin be comfortable being that like disconnected from the house that he lives in? Like, I'm like, think about how good you feel when you like do a chore in your space. It makes you feel ownership over your space. It makes you treat your home differently. And so ultimately we are not in the financial position to make this happen, but we were just like, what if? And so I think that if Colin were willing to cover all of the, and it's not like if I were a housewife that I'm like, there's not like a non-compete. Like I think I would still be able to work and like earn money on top of this. I think I would still need to, especially in these like realistic cases that we're pondering. And so it's not like I would be totally dependent on him, but I would be partially dependent on him. I mean, like for the things that keep a roof over my head, like I would be dependent on him for. And so that establishes a kind of like interdependency that maybe is like what people consider when they get married. And I just like, I don't know that I'm comfortable with that. But maybe I am, because I'm like, I trust Colin and I have faith in our relationship, but like, I don't know. I'm also 27 years old. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen in 10 years. When I double the time that I've spent in my life, as an adult, like I have been an adult for much less longer, for much shorter time than I've been a child. I don't know. I still have this attitude toward life that is like, I don't know it all. Like, genuinely shit surprises me all the time. And I'm like, oh, damn, I thought I knew that. Oh, so I thought this was how it was. Oh, right. And so maybe I would do that. And maybe I would do it for just like some time. And like, maybe that is going to be a kind of relationship that we have if and when we have children. Like, maybe I will want to be like a stay-at-home parent. We had actually talked also about like Colin being a stay-at-home parent. And so maybe I become the breadwinner. And this dynamic that I'm talking about is not necessarily like new or novel, but I'm exploring it from a lens where like it's an explicit like balance of power and balance of responsibility that is negotiated out, and not just like an assumed like, oh, you woman do house and man do job money. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's a number that it would take. Like, I mused in my notes here about like $25,000 a year, like $1,500 a month, like things that cover my survival costs, and then the money I earn on top of that is just for me. Like, that doesn't sound like a bad gig. It doesn't sound like a bad gig. It really sounds like it could be kind of nice. So I don't know. Okay. We've reached the end of the episode. I'm gonna drop the cord. And I'm going to show you my sweatshirt again, because the content shout out of this episode is Bunny Michaels. And so you can find them on Instagram. You can find them. They have a podcast called like Hello Higher Self. And I just follow them on Instagram, and they are posting things like, I don't know, how did I find this? Like self-worth memes. And they do this like Sunday palette cleanse, which is just a collection of like 20 TikToks that is meant to be like a palette cleanse from all of the content that makes us like feel bad. It's content that makes you feel good and it is funny. So their social media is very fun. It's very fun to engage in, and I went ahead and got some merch because they were like, I'm a small business, like the you getting merch like really actually does help support me doing this and creating a lot of this content for free. And I was like, okay, so true. And I thought this sweatshirt was kind of cute, and I wanted a gray crew neck, and I like the colors. So shout out Bunny Michaels. I'll include their links in the description and stuff, and I'll throw some examples of their memes on the screen right now. But so yeah, go hit up Bunny Michaels. Go hit up Brittany Broski. Go hit up Wildlin. Who else did I talk about? Bronson and Ashley Merryman. Nurture Shock. Okay, get into it. Let me know what you're reading this year. Let me know what you call your marijuana product, and engage with my video. I'm begging. I'm literally begging. It's your responsibility. It's on you. So anyway, also let me know if you like this format better or if you miss the slideshow. I kind of missed the slideshow. I liked making it, and I spent all that time designing it, but I don't know. I'm like, this is, I think, simpler and easier, and it makes it easier for me to produce the podcast, to literally create it and do this on a regular basis. If I want to be doing this bi-weekly, spending a few hours making a slide deck is just not always time that I have. And so, and I don't know, I think that this is nice too, because it's nice in a different way. It's a little more one-on-one vulnerable, we're having a conversation and not I'm presenting at you. So I don't know. Again, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in roughly 2 weeks with a new episode where we're going to talk about making software versus making stuff with software. We're going to also talk about OCD a little bit, and we're going to talk about using AI, because guys, a spoiler, I have been using AI to code, and I really don't see myself stopping. It's really nice. It makes everything really easy. So we'll talk about this more in depth in next episode. Obviously, I know the environmental impacts, and that's why I'm but I'm also I don't know. We'll get into it next episode. So until next time, I love y'all, and I don't know. I feel like I'm digging in my brain for what Brittany Broski does in her outros. I'm a carbon copy. Okay, sue me. I'll see y'all next time. Okay, bye.